Hello and welcome back to the game room. You know what I love? Video games. You know what I love talking about? Games. And it seems like a lot of people these days who cover games seem to hate them. Or at least the people who play them. Well, that's not me, and that's not the 2,272 of you beautiful people checking out this video here today. My goodness, did last week's video blow up? The FOMO is real, the panic buying is real, these Xbox 360 games are going nuts, and you know what? I said we had enough games to do part 2. We're gonna do it. In fact, I got several games where we can do this a couple of times. So yes, let's see what some more games you should go out and panic buy are right now.
There's a lot of games out there, some of which you've never even heard of. That's where I come in. My name's Luke. I've been playing games since the age of 2, and I have no life.
This is my game room.
So starting off this video, we're going with a game that I recently discovered, 6 months ago. It's a game that had a version come out that I was unaware of that had all the DLC on the disc. And why that's important is because this game was delisted back in 2015, meaning that unless you buy the physical version that has the DLC, there's no way to get it. And that, of course, is Naughty Bear Gold Edition. So if you're wondering why the Gold Edition is so much more than the regular Naughty Bear, that's why. Now, this is also a game that came out on PS3. I had never really heard of it. I picked it up. I did actually play it very recently, and it's funny, you read reviews or you'll read about it. It doesn't really describe what the game is accurately, in my opinion. What I would say is the game basically plays like Dead by Daylight or, the Friday the 13th game. One of those asymmetrical things where you're playing as the killer and then you have all these other people running around. But in this world, you're a big stuffed bear, like a human-sized bear, living on an island with other bears, but you're kind of a jerk, and then all the other bears are kind of a jerk. And basically each level, which there's 7 levels, and then the DLC unlocks 3 other levels, which are themed. You got a pirate theme, vampire theme, etc. And your whole point is just to go around either scaring the other bears so that they then go crazy, or murdering the other bears until you suffice the conditions of the level. And within each level, there's different ways of beating it. So you have one where it's kind of like the first version of it, then you have one where you murder them all, another one where you're not supposed to be seen. Like, each one carries its own different win condition, but pretty much, and then you unlock levels by getting trophies. So the more points you get from creative kills, which when bears go and hide or interact with other objects, so if they hide into the closet, you can insta-kill them. They get in the car, you can insta-kill them. If you set a trap and they get trapped, you can insta-kill them. Or you can scare them, and then sometimes when you scare them, they'll end themselves. So it's really not much to it. That's why I say it's kind of like a Dead by Daylight game where you just play as the killer and you're playing against computers. I think there's a multiplayer, but I didn't look into it that much. But the whole concept is just pure ridiculousness. It's about killer stuffed animals, and when I originally read about this and heard about it, I thought it'd be more like a GTA style or a Simpsons hit and run thing where you're walking around a city doing all these shenanigans. No, it's level based. Every level's on the same area. It just has different parameters. So like the first one, there's a birthday party you're not invited to. The second one, there's the mayor who's trying to get you evicted off the island. The third one, there's this dude with a bunch of cameras on birds. And I played a couple of the DLC ones where it has a vampire DLC and a pirate DLC. And then throughout the level, the other bears can call for help. And a police bear shows up. You can pick up melee weapons. Each one has its own different kill animation, which is the fun of the game. That's kind of the fun of the game. But it is just ridiculous. I was able to pick this game up for about $30 at my local game store. Prices are definitely all over the place on this. And that's kind of the intention of this video, is that yes, the eBay prices, the Mercari prices, those are all nuts. But I just went to a local swap meet this weekend, and we'll talk about it in another video, but I found some excellent deals because not everyone knows these prices are going up, or these prices may not actually be genuine. So yeah, I'm not telling you guys to go out and panic buy and FOMO buy and all that, but I will be honest with you. The prices likely are not going to go that much down. So the prices now are probably going to be about what they are once the dust settles on some of the more obscure and desirable stuff, in my opinion. So that's why I've gone out and bought these, and I'm recommending you guys buy these too. If not, hey, no skin off my nose. All right. Now, the next one, this game has recently, it's always been about a $20-ish game, and because of a certain creator passing away, has started to skyrocket, though you can still find this copy fairly affordable, so don't bite on like the $60, $70. I've seen it. I saw it today even on eBay for $30, and that is Blue Dragon. So this is a game for the Xbox 360. It's exclusive. It's a turn-based traditional role-playing game. The art style from Akira Toriyama, the gentleman behind Dragon Quest and the Dragon Ball Z. So I'm guessing that is more responsible for the spike in this game, but then again, it's also a turn-based RPG on the Xbox 360. So if anyone knows anything about collecting, those just tend to skyrocket in price. I picked this up. I probably should have picked it up sooner. I actually got it off of, I think I paid $30 for it, but it has no manual. It's a 3-disc game, so it does have a lot of discs in there, so make sure you get all 3 of them, which this was kind of the last hurrah of that, of having multi-disc games. I mean, we're going to get to another game here that's even more discs. I've heard good things about it from other people who like turn-based RPGs. I would imagine I would enjoy it. I just, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of the art style. I know that is blasphemy to a lot of people, but that largely has kept me away from certain things, and why when I played Dragon Quest XI, I didn't really quite enjoy it. But gotta pick it up. Definitely, if you find it cheap enough, jump on it. Is this one going to stay at the $60, $70 mark? I don't know. There seems to be a lot of copies out there, but you've been warned. Now, here's a game that I'm mentioning. I'm trying to throw in a couple of ones in here that aren't super obscure, super rare. Though, talking to others, I think this is harder to find, which is a little surprising to me. I feel like I've never been able to not find this. But that game is Allan Wake, the physical edition of Allan Wake. This is a very good game. Notwithstanding the sequel, which doesn't have a physical edition, so maybe we'll play it one of these days. But really, really interesting. Think of it like an adult Luigi's Mansion. And I know, because this is what a horror game. Horror games always go up in price. And because it did have not the greatest sales, it probably will be one where if you don't have a copy of it and you are interested, get it. I know there's remakes of it. I know there's things of that nature. So it's not dire straits, though the remake is kind of hard to find on the PS5 too. So really fun game, really solid ad. One of my favorite games on the Xbox 360. One of the ones that I had before this whole craziness. I actually bought this game when it was somewhat current. I remember seeing it in Best Buy, and they had these, and maybe the collector's edition is the one that's really rare. It looked like the size of a novel, which makes sense because Allan Wake is about a novelist. And I just remember seeing it and thinking, that is strange. Because there was a huge push on this game. They put a lot of marketing, and they thought this game was going to be a huge hit, which was a little misplaced on their end. It's a phenomenal game, but it's also very niche. And I think because of that, Microsoft got a little gun shy. And then, it's unfortunate because it's an excellent game. So definitely pick up Allan Wake. Highly recommend it. Now, this is a game that was recommended to me from the comments section of a video a while ago. A few months maybe. I'd never heard of it before. It's another one of those Suda51 games, and that is Killer is Dead. And I have yet to put it in, but I know the price on this is definitely going up. All those Suda51 games are going up. This, Lollipop Chainsaw, all the Shadows of the Damned. So it's just one of those ones where if it looks interesting to you, check it out, pick it up. It's got that same Suda51, art style, sense of humor, kind of the it's an action, third-person action game, so combat looks to be somewhat similar to the Bayonettas, things of that nature, but just seemed very interesting. Something I wanted to have in my collection. I want to say I picked it up when it was around $20-ish, and this is another one that's on the PS3, which a lot of these are on the PS3, so just so you know, if you like the PS3 more, those ones have not gone up right now. So it seems like the pricing has not hit the PS3 yet. It will. It will, because those are probably harder to find than the 360 games. I'm of the opinion that I like the 360 more. And because games generally were made for the 360, even though the PS3 had better hardware. They tend to be better on the 360 in my opinion. So that's kind of on that one. Now, it's funny, in the last video, someone mentioned that I had talked about 2 of the trifecta of tactical games, but not the third one. And the third one I do have, and that is Spectral Force 3. So there is no Spectral Force 2 or 1 that we've gotten. This was the first one released in the West. It's your standard turn-based RPG fare. Very much, if you're into that kind of thing, this seems something right up my alley. It's funny enough about this, when I picked it up, it was right on the cusp of the price going up. And I had actually bitten on one for about $40 on Amazon. And then I remembered that my local game store had like 3 copies of this. And I went in and checked, because I remember the back of my head, I'm like, I think they had $25 on them. They did. They did have $25. They had 2 of them marked at $25, 1 marked at $30. And they'd actually marked it down. So I managed to snag a copy for $25. I canceled the other order, thankfully, because I still had time. And so now I have that game, which at the last swap meet, this past weekend, there was 1 copy of it going for $60. I'm guessing that's complete. And it's not going to stop there. You know, that one, Zoids, and Operation Darkness. If you're into turn-based RPGs, I think these are the only... I mean, there's other ones too, but these are the 3 that were also good, according to people. So definitely jump on those before it's too late. Now, here's one that I found. I used to go to a thrift store called Savers in Redwood City because it was about a 2-minute walk from where I worked. So I would routinely go there every day, pretty much. And that's how I found a lot of my cheap PS2, Xbox 360 games, and Xbox games. This was circa 2015 to 2019. And I never found anything all that great. I came across a few PS1 games. I came across a few PS2 games. Like, I came across a couple of GameCube games. I got a second copy of Fight for New York, Def Jam Fight for New York. That was probably the best find I ever found doing that. But one of the things I did come across, which even then, and this price has kind of held pat on this game over the years, and that's the orange box. So this has Half-Life 2, Portal, Team Fortress 2, and then I think the Half-Life 2 episodes. What's funny, though, is that I bought the orange box back when the orange box came out for Steam, because that was, if I remember, that was the only way to play Counter-Strike, or it was one of the ways of getting Counter-Strike. And so it's just funny to me that I've actually, because I'm not a PC gamer, but I have bought the orange box before. And then my favorite thing about this game, honestly, is the fact that it glows in my game room under the blue light that I like to have on, almost like a black light. It's very fluorescent. It's a very fluorescent orange, so it looks great. But only way you can play Portal on the system, I think it's the only physical version of Portal out there, is on the orange box. I have still yet to play Half-Life 2. I've actually never played Team Fortress 2 either. It's funny, I didn't realize Team Fortress 2 was on the orange box after I played Overwatch, and everyone's like, this game's just like Team Fortress 2. But another one that you need to pick up now, I still find it, I saw it at the Swabby, it's still about $20, $30 complete. I don't know if it's going to hang around that price. I have a feeling it's going to go up just because of the sheer quality of what's on it, as well as the, you know, like things like Portal and Team Fortress 2 and Half-Life 2. Like, I got to get to these. I got to play these guys. I got to play these games. All right. Now, moving on to this one. This was a game I didn't even know came out. And I saw this on, I can't remember where I saw it. I think it was an episode of GameSack or something, or I don't know, maybe some random video where it talked about it. And that is Ninja Gaiden Z, Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z. So this came out in 2014, right around when I had an Xbox One and a PS4. So I really was not paying attention to the Xbox 360. So I think that's how this game got lost in the shuffle. But I loved the Ninja Gaiden games on the Xbox 360. Mainly, I only played the second one, but it was a lot of fun. And this is a game that has a very cel-shaded art style that takes a character that's not Ryu. It's a guy named Yaiba. And Yaiba is actually defeated by Ryu and then resurrected. And then you're in this crazy zombie apocalypse. And it's a side story, but it's interesting enough. And it looks very visually stunning. And one of those things that got reviewed very poorly at the time for being too repetitive, but I think because now we don't get so many of these games, that it will, not that it's aged better, but it's an experience that I'd like to try out. And one of those ones that I picked this up because I didn't know it existed. That's one of the things. I didn't know there was a Ninja Gaiden 3. And then when I found out there was a Ninja Gaiden Z, I'm like, wow, there's 24 other ones. Like, so I picked it up. I'm looking forward to checking it out, but I never see this game. I never see it. I don't remember ever seeing it in store. Seeing a Ninja Gaiden game with this art style just seemed very cool and something I wanted to have in my collection before it was too long or too late. I think I got that for about $25. And like I said, I didn't see it this past weekend. I've never remember seeing it at GameStop. Don't even remember it coming out. So usually when because I'm pretty much on the pulse of these things a lot, I generally know of games. So when there's a game that just is in a franchise I'm familiar with that I'd never heard of, and it's still not that expensive, I'm going to jump on it. Now here's one that I've been familiar with. I don't know why for the life of me I never picked it up, because it's right up my alley. It's more or less an adult version of Pikmin, and that is called Overlord. And like I say, it's an adult version of Pikmin, so you play as this big Overlord who summons gremlin minions. And much like with Pikmin, each one of the minions has its own role. So you have one that can deal with fire, one that can swim, one that's more of a fighter. And you go through all these levels and you take on the 7 heroes who defeated you, who have now been corrupted by a different version of sin. So like the 7 deadly sins. And it's just and there's also kind of a morality system where you can be evil or you can be more evil. Though it's more, I think you're just assumed you're evil. I think the evils sometimes they're good things as far as you do some decent stuff. But just a really cool game, and I was surprised that something as obscure as this that I never come across, never see, was still about $12 complete. Now, I picked this up at my local game store, but like I said, I never come across this. There is a sequel to it too, which probably will be even more obscure at some point that I've actually ordered. It hasn't showed up yet. But definitely, if you're into Pikmin and you want more games like that, I can't think of another game series that's like that other than this one. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting more into that game and checking out the sequel. Now, here's one that I'm bringing up just because I like to have a diversity of games in this, and also the Call of Duty series is huge, and this is one that I really enjoy, and I like it for a reason that most people aren't probably aware of, and that one is Call of Duty World at War. This is a game you can find anywhere. It's not expensive, but hey, I'm also trying to recommend some games here that I think you should pick up anyways. The thing about this that makes it so cool is that there is a co-op campaign. And as far as I know, there are no co-op campaigns in any other Call of Duty. I enjoy the World War II setting. Like I've said before in other videos, I started off with the Medal of Honor series. I jumped into Call of Duty at Modern Warfare 4, which was Call of Duty 4. And then this was the next one to come out. So I really got heavily invested in this game. After this was Black Ops, and I was kind of 1 foot out the door already. But I really enjoy World at War. It's got a really solid campaign. If you enjoy World War II shooters, it's an interesting enough story. Very much has some of that Medal of Honor DNA. And in my opinion is what, for a Medal of Honor fan, put the kibosh on that and made me go behind Call of Duty. Was this game. So I recommend it. It's also the first one to introduce the zombies minigame, or the zombies kind of side game type stuff, was in that one. So it's also a cool little thing there, and just one that I think you guys should pick up, especially if you want to get one that's likely not going to go up. Alright, now here's one that has gone up. So this was a game that I saw talked about 7-8 years ago when Metal Jesus did a video on it, and scouring the internet looking at all these Xbox Hidden Gems videos. It's all over them. And what's funny is that it's got a PS3 version too, but the Xbox 360 version is a lot harder to come by right now, and that is Wet. Which is also, what's funny is in doing these collecting, I've been finding a lot more female protagonists in the Xbox 360 era that I was aware of. You got this game, there's games like, the Bayonettas and other ones of that nature. And it's just funny, like a lot of these hidden gems have these female protagonists, and, no one talks about it. And having recently played the Max Payne series, similar style in that with the bullet time, the bullet physics, but this game is just even more over the top. You're very acrobatic. Think about, I would say it's kind of a mix of the like that Tomb Raider style, Tomb Raider kind of imagery and adventure mixed with the badassery of Max Payne, and it's just a lot of fun, and something that is a shame that has gotten so expensive, because I remember seeing this. I have seen this several times, and other than Wet is probably something that would have some guys embarrassed to buy that game, especially considering the cover. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe it should have had a different name. But yeah, there you go. That's one you should definitely pick up, because it's going up there too. All right, getting down to the last couple. So like I said, I like to have a few just random picks in there, and one for everyone needs to get a Halo game. So I'm going to talk about Halo Reach. So you really don't hear about Halo Reach as much as the others. I don't think this one was on any of the Master Chief collections. I don't know if it was ever re-released on the Series X or the Xbox One. This is still probably my favorite Halo experience. I don't know if it's wrapped up in the fact that I played so much of the multiplayer at the time, but it is one that is super enjoyable. Really cool story. Kind of a heartbreaking story at the end of it. It's a prequel, and I generally don't like prequels, but this does it well. Master Chief is nowhere in the game. Instead, you have a squad of people, and you get to see them. Basically, it's the fall of the Ring, like the Ring Halo system, if I remember, and they're kind of on the ground floor of that, and you get to see how that all happened. And it's one of the few times where a prequel makes sense and is pretty gripping and really cool. Great campaign, great multiplayer, just all around solid game. It's really when they started implementing the perk system into a Halo game, but still had non-loadout design, which I enjoy, because you go around the levels and you find the shotgun, you find the sword, you find the stuff. So yeah, highly recommend picking up Halo Reach. I don't think that one's going to go up in price, but who knows? I mean, some of these games go up that you just wouldn't expect. All right, now I mentioned a game that came out on 4 discs, and this is one of the more heartbreaking examples of a lot of the bias of game journalism back when this game came out, because by all accounts, it's a phenomenal game. It's got great people behind it. The composer from the Final Fantasy series, and that is Lost Odyssey. Now, this game's going for about $30 complete. It's a very massive, very long game, and it got horrible reviews when it came out because it was turn-based and because it had randomized battles. What's funny, if you look at the Famitsu reviews, that's the Japanese publication, they all gave it a 36 out of 40, which is a pretty damn stellar score. But a lot of people here in the West, and this is kind of where that bias against these type of games really was in full force. And I myself was guilty of it, because I had been invested in World of Warcraft coming over into the 360, and then I was heavily doing the Modern Warfares and the Halos. So I hate that this game came out to such non-fanfare. But yeah, if you're looking for a traditional turn-based RPG that they claim won't work, circa, we have the Octopaths and we have the games like that, but they're all kind of pixelated. This is a full AAA experience with great visuals, great graphics. Check this out. Highly recommend picking this one up, because this is not only a phenomenal game, but a phenomenal staple of a great genre that unfortunately took about 10 years before, or 8 years after this kind of stuff, to start pulling itself out of the ashes. And certain things like Final Fantasy never recovered, and even then they still don't sell if you talk to them, at least not to their standings. All right, and then the last game we're going to talk about here is one that I knew existed on the PS1, and what's funny is or PS2 rather, and I looked for the PS2 version. This was maybe a couple of years ago. And the reason is because it's got a name that's important to history, and at the time I saw one on the 360, and I'm like, well, no one cares about that. That was going for like $5-6. Now this game's going up around 40, 60 complete. I'm lucky enough, I got it probably around 30, right at the beginning of March, and I'm glad I did, because Magna Carta II is getting very hard to find. It's a very nice action role-playing game, much in the vein, things like Secret of Mana, all that kind of stuff. Really cool. The reason Magna Carta that I'm familiar with, if you know what the Magna Carta is, that was a big accord signed back in English lore. And so that's how I knew about Magna Carta 1, the one on the PS2. I didn't know there was one on the 360. So finding out it was a 2. So already it's going to be more obscure. And it kind of just came out to no fanfare, and then it was just gone. And I've seen one copy of it at my local game store. It was gone by the time I went back, but luckily I had picked this up already. So if you want a hidden gem on the 360, you can find this one, jump on it, because this is just going to keep going up in price. Because once again, all the Japanese role-playing games go up in price eventually, and this is just going to be one of them. So there you go. There are, what was that, 13, 14 more games that you need to go immediately and buy on the Xbox 360 before prices go up. I just want to say thank you guys so much. Thank you to all the new subscribers. I've never had such a significant jump ever. Like that, this was really, really humbling to see. And, you know, it's funny to some of the comments like, yes, I need to move out of my mom's basement. I have, actually. And yes, I do own this house. So, hey, you can both buy games and not be a basement dweller. Isn't that cool? But thank you guys for being respectful in the comments. Like I said, I'm not trying to force you guys to go out and buy these. Honestly, I'd much rather these prices go down. But I think part of the problem is that, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I don't have all the time in the day to scour the different libraries of these systems. So once I get Hidden Gems videos, once these come out, and then I can see, oh, you know what, that piques my interest, then I jump into it. But I think right now there's kind of a fulcrum of the fact that, you know what's funny, I didn't even know that the Xbox store was closing. You know, I remember all the stuff about them getting rid of physical media, but I just got the bug to get into some 360 games because there's nothing coming out this year I'm all that interested in. PS5 wise or anything, even the Switch, it's kind of a lull. So over the years, I've really gotten a lot of the NES games I wanted, the SNES games I wanted, PlayStation, N64, PS2 generation, GameCube generation, I kind of have what I want, but I didn't really know much from the Xbox 360 or the PS3 that I was missing out on. And like I say, I enjoy the Xbox 360. And so finding all these games now, hearing about, you know, the Overlords and the Magna Carta II, the Lost Odyssey, the Blue Dragon, hearing about these games more, I'm like, oh yeah, I actually would probably like that. And you know what? There's no microtransactions. It's on the disc. I don't have to worry about DLC. I don't have to worry about this or that. It's not overly padded with crafting and all these other things to extend my time. Let's jump into it. And honestly, I think that's also part of it that no one's talking about is, yes, there's the 20-year nostalgia. Yes, the store is closing, and if people are wondering why the store closing affects these things, it affects them because now there is a scarcity. So people, when there isn't a scarcity, they can put it off, they can procrastinate, they don't care. But now that the store is closing, it has now gotten Xbox 360 front of mind, where it's now like, okay, I need to go get some of those arcade games. Which games should I pick up? And then you see these videos saying, hey, you should pick up Wet. Or, hey, you should pick up Killer is Dead. Oh, yeah, I should get that. Wow. Oh, my God, that was $20 a month ago, and now it's $40. I better buy it now before it's $80. You know, that may not be the case. We saw this back in 2021, kind of, with the PS1, where things like Suikoden got up to $400 and all that. But, hey, I'll be honest with you. Not many of those prices went down that much. And that's the thing is, yeah, you know what? The $20, $30 games that used to be 10 or 15, it's not that easy for it to go back to 10 or 15. Now, a $100 game going back to 80 or 70, sure. But once you get over a certain price, it's not really going down that much. At least from what I've seen. So, hey, take that with a grain of salt. But anyways, it's been so nice getting a hold of you guys. Take care.